This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
I'm feeling great. Oh, just got myself a haircut. Gonna go get a massage later. The off season has started for Manny Navarro.
I like it. You fought with a weed eater and you lost.
I did.
I like it.
I did.
I like it.
I did.
Like it. All right. So I want to ask you something because we're watching Mike McDaniel take over, and he's a different kind of coach. We watched Spo, and he's different than Pat Riley. And things have changed in life. People have changed. And I realize also myself in my experiences with 1210 and with Onside, having to hire and deal with younger people, it's a different breed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to be maybe a different way of teaching and those kind of things. So I'll give you a quote from Mario Cristobal to Joe Zagacki in the Hurricane Hotline. It says, we have to make sure every single person is on board. If you start matching high achievers with low achievers or pretenders or guys that are not real, it won't work. As a player, I couldn't stand being beside those guys, those kind of guys. I like telling the team all the time, I get along great with hardworking, tough son of a guns that want to be awesome. We want to make sure we're loaded with the right kind of talent and people. So I get in general, he is 1,000% right. But the approach, is it that hard line approach? Is that the right way with today's kids? I don't know, you tell me, does it sound like the right plan in today's world, and can it be achieved?
Oh, it's really hard to say because I think there are guys who take an old school approach, right? Nick Saban has done that for a long time. He's an old school guy. But I think he's also adapted with the times too. I guess you'd have to look at Greg Popovich with the Spurs, right? He has his way of handling things. He's been around for a long time at this. He's going through his struggles now, right? Bill Belichick had Tom Brady by his side for a long time. He had his ways, Belichickian way of success. I think you do have to adapt with the times, but at the same time, I think you do have to have some core principles, core culture principles that you stick to. And I think what we all have to remember here, at least when it comes to the University of Miami, is whatever culture was in place for the last 20 years, that's not it. So
no.
I think that's the number one thing people have to think about, because I know there's a lot of comparison, right? It's like, well, Manny Diaz won 7-5 with these guys. And I'm like, 7-5 sucks.
Yeah.
It's not what you want to be.
I just think what they're trying to tell you is Manny sucked and he went 7-5. How can this guy win 5 games? You know what I'm saying? And so they're expecting you to win 7 or 8 games with the same kind of talent if you're a better coaching staff. And unfortunately, the optics are you did a shittier job than Manny Diaz. And they're not wrong.
Mario
Cristobal has to live with, unfortunately.
No, and they're not wrong. Those criticisms are fair. He did do a crappier job than the guy before him.
No. Hold on a second. Mario Cristobal owns the crappiest job ever in Miami Hurricanes history. Let's be straight on that. As much as I like Mario, as much as I'm rooting for him, in the 50 years of me watching Hurricanes football, I have never seen a worse program ever than the one I watched this year. So Mario owns that.
2007 was pretty bad too. They were 5-7 that year also. And you go back and you look at those games down the stretch, they had no offense whatsoever. It was very similar, actually, if you go back. But I've lived that, many times over in my head, and that's why it's fresh. But look, you can't defend what happened this season.
Oh,
but I've spent a lot of time talking to people in the last couple of days whose players are at Miami. Okay, people who coach these kids at the high school level, just to get some insight into what went wrong, what's the issue. I think fundamentally, some of the assistant coaches that are there on that staff just it's not just Mario. It's some of the people he hired to carry out what he wanted done. And I think in some ways, the support system that those kids came from weren't ready to deal with Mario's approach and the approach of his assistants. They just weren't ready to deal with it. Like, it's not just the kids, it's the adults who I'm hearing this from, right? Like, they're watching their former kids go to Miami, and they're hearing from them, and what they're hearing, they don't like, because it's not a very lovable, friendly approach. It's not, hey, we're going to kiss your ass, and you're the greatest thing. No, those guys came in here, and they're like, no, you guys suck.
Right.
And we're not, and we don't want you here. We don't think you're good enough for Miami. And so that's where that battle ultimately was lost for Mario, is that their coaches came in here with the idea that, okay, we're going to give them tough love and maybe the kids will respond positively. That's not what happened. It went completely in the other direction. And so now that's why you have to have a major shakeup with your roster. That's why you have to have probably a shakeup with your coaching staff too, because maybe some guys just aren't the right fit here either. So either way, Mario signed a 10-year contract. He's got a lot of time to fix this. He's under no pressure. In all honesty, he's under no pressure. I mean, you could sit here and say, well, he's getting $80 million.
Zero.
There's zero pressure because he's got a contract for 10 years.
What he's under is criticism, not pressure.
Right. And that's an entirely different animal. Right. And I would venture to say that that's a lot easier to coach in that world if you're a guy like Mario who doesn't give a shit about the criticism. And I think he doesn't. I think he sees this as, I've got to do this my way. And whether or not that works, I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. I do know this. These are the facts. Miami has a much bigger football budget than it ever had. They've got NIL dollars. And to me, those things matter in today's game.
Oh, yeah.
So people say, oh, Mario, look at his record. He's a 500 coach when you add up what he did at FIU and Oregon. And so what if he recruits? He can't make the players better. And look at the coordinators he hires. Those guys suck. And I hear all of that. But I also turn around and say, well, this is what he's got going for him. He's got one of the most talent-rich areas in the country, right, to get players from. He's got NIL dollars to work with. He's got the transfer portal. So let's see what happens. Let's give him a little bit of time here to operate and see whether or not his plan works out. If by year 3 we don't see any improvement, it's pretty much going to be a failure, in my mind. So he's got 2 years. He's got 2 years to show us what he's got.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That he's got to, after year 3, he's got to really show that he's making a big time difference. By the way, he was 29-25 at Oklahoma State. Jimmy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case for the people who say he's a 500 coach. 29-25. That's what we said about Jimmy Johnson also.
Right.
By the way, and he did a decent job. So
look, Mario's approach of recruiting size, recruiting big guys, that's important in today's game. If you're going to look like Georgia and Alabama, you got to look like Georgia and Alabama. You got to have guys that play the part. And let's face it, there's some guys at Miami for the last few years, and the NFL agrees, that aren't Miami guys. Ed Orgeron was here.
The draft says it all. Right. You're
Ed Orgeron was here when Miami was great, okay? When they were winning championships, when they were at their peak. He was at LSU when they had the machine in 2019. He came here, watched the first day of practice, and the first thing he told our Bruce Feldman when he was leaving was, man, the talent is average. This is not the Miami I remember. And that was before they played a game. That was back when everybody was picking them to win the Coastal Division. Right. So these guys know what it's supposed to look like. And that's what they thought of this roster. So to everybody who's freaking out because, he went 5-7, well, find me a coach. Would you have been happy if Manny Diaz came back and they went 8-4? Would you be happy with that?
It's not so much the 5-7. It's how you went 5-7. It's how you got your asses kicked by Middle Tennessee State.
You did because the kids didn't want to play for you.
Well, whatever. I mean, but that's your fault too as coaching staff. Mm-hmm. That's your fault. You know what I mean? That's you had to get more out of the kid, and you couldn't because you went with a hard line approach, and it didn't work out for you. And who knows? Maybe you get a little bit more out of massaging, and then at the end of the year, you say, "Yeah, hey, listen, we had to massage you too much. You need to go." And then you
Yeah.
can move on. You can make your difference that way. You know what I mean? But
I would venture to say the biggest mistake they made was thinking they were going to be able to run the football at the beginning of the year, the power running game that they were hoping to sort of establish. I felt like when they lost to Texas A&M, they lost Zion Nelson, number one. And number two, it
who is
felt like they were
Zion
just
Nelson? By the way, who is Zion Nelson?
well,
What's he done?
he was your best offensive tackle. He was going into this year.
How much has he played?
He played the first 2 years.
But he missed time then too, right?
No,
Did he
at the
miss
end. At the end of the year, it wasn't significant. The significant injury was this year. He missed some camp in his second season, but he was back and he played. Look, the point is, he was a 3-year starter for you. Again, what I'm trying to get at is, it felt like once they lost a Texas A&M game, and then they realized, oh shit, we're not a power running team. We need Tyler Van Dyke to throw. It was too late. You lost your best lineman.
That's bad coaching. That's bad.
Yes,
coaching.
so that
we're not assessing your talent the right way. Yeah,
correct. But I think if Manny Diaz was coach, all right, do they beat Middle Tennessee State? Probably, because they have the same sort of offensive system.
Do you have Lashley? Yes. If you don't have Lashley, no.
Well, yeah. I mean, we could play the what if game. What to me, what would have happened if Manny Diaz was still here and you still had Rhett Lashley? Would they have been that much better this year?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's about having another coach. I don't think it's any of that. I just think the problem with Mario this year for himself is that it came in with a lot more hype. It came in with a lot more expectation. And you also were expecting better football, and you didn't get that. And that's the problem, that you thought, okay, well, wait a minute. We understand you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. But, dude, at least make some kind of a salad there for us to make it look half decent. And he made un picadillo que está, like terrible, and it's got all kinds of grasa, and it's really bad. And so
I'm not arguing that. I guess my bigger question is, even if they had taken the right approach, right? Let's say they came out and they said, no, we're not going to be a power running team. We're going to throw the ball with Tyler. Okay, maybe they beat Texas A&M. They beat Middle Tennessee State. I don't know.
Now you're at least feeling like, all right, well, they go into a bowl game. They want, there isn't much talent on this team. You did all right. 5 wins and some embarrassing losses along the way against some really bad teams. That it's just
it leaves. You're right. It leaves the bad taste in your mouth. I'm not arguing. I guess my bigger thing is, even if things had gone right.
Talking about the tough son of a bitch that he's talking about is Javon Holland.
Right.
I'm watching it in the NFL level. He's the only guy left standing with no injuries. Okay. Even X has been dealing with 2 growing injuries. Everybody else is broken down. And there's Javon Holland on games on short weeks, playing 90, 100 plays or whatever. So I get the tough son of a bitch he's looking for, because we got him here with the Miami Dolphins. So I get what he's looking for. It's just optics for him. Now that put it this way, he has now made the perception of turning around the program a little harder, because he came in and underachieved. And so then that's the optics, that's the perception of the program right now. And now that's why you have a lot of people questioning Mario. I'm not saying that I question Mario. I think long-term he'll be fine. But short-term, none of this shit can be defended, unfortunately.
No,
I have no explanation for any of this, unfortunately. And that's my problem with it.
I mean, look, this is just my opinion. I think it's almost better that it was exposed this way, that this is how bad the locker room is, than for them to have gone 8-4 and people to have some false sense of, well, look, things aren't that bad. They're going to be. I'd rather just rip the Band-Aid off, get all the cancer out, and just say, hey, we're starting over with a new group of kids. Yeah. Because the old group of kids, they showed you what they were the last couple of years.
Right.
So
Greer did that in 2019. He gutted everything, and he started completely from scratch with Flo, and they tore that team down to the bone and got rid of every bad contract and everything else, and then moved on. Yeah, so you're right, and that was the equivalent of that.
yeah, and I think as long as they come back next year and show you that the kids that they did get here, right, the freshman class, the Inez Coopers of the world, and the Trevante Citizens and Wesley Basainth and Jaleel Skinner, if all those guys in year 2 start to take off and do this, and all of a sudden, you've got something building this way, then I don't think anybody's going to give a shit about 5 and 7.
I agree. By the way, they continue to snatch up some stuff. What'd they pick up here this week?
Yes, they picked up a defensive lineman out of California, Collins Achampong, who's another one of these ridiculously sized guys, 6'7", 254.
Notice how I just said they picked up somebody because I didn't want to pronounce his ass. I mean, geez,
yes,
it's like Alzugaray or
yes.
something. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, he's African native. I think he hasn't seen his mother in over 4 years. He came to the United States basically to play sports and get to college and make the pros. Was committed to Michigan. I think that was Michigan's number 2 recruit in terms of where he was ranked. Big time kid, just body wise. Hasn't played a lot of football. Played in 2019, and then this year he only played 3 games before he tore his knee up. But hell of an athlete. Can jump out of the building. Has tremendous athleticism. The kind of raw, big body talent that Mario loves. And we'll see how they mold him. I mean, he's got to be coached up, but he's got a lot of the ingredients you like. He's a hardworking kid. He showed you his toughness. Came here, has basically been living with an American family for 4 years to try to improve his life. And so I like the DNA, the DNA right there. I think all of that is good. They're looking to flip another kid, Joshua Horton, another big body defensive lineman, 6'5", 280s, a kid committed to North Carolina, 3-star. I kind of like this whole thing of screw the 5 stars and 4 stars. Oh, I like the hungry 3. Give me a big bodied hungry 3-star, and if you can coach him up and to turn him into something, I like that more than the kids who come in here with the arrogant, I'm the best, I'm rated this and this. We've seen those guys here already.
Right.
So give me the big bodied kids. And let's see what they can do.
Ed Reed was like a 2 or 3-star, right? Yeah.
2-star in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot harder to hide nowadays.
Right.
But
but also there's a lot of guys that are overgraded too. That's the thing. So
that's the bigger issue. That's the bigger issue. I always try to tell people if it's a top 100 guy, odds are really good. The guy's a really good player. They're not going to miss the top 100. But if you tell me he's number 400, to me, there's no difference between him and number 800 or number 1,000. Except that he got more attention because he went to a couple of camps.
Right.
So,
right.
Mom
and dad had a couple extra bucks to put him on the road.
Mom and dad or his handler or whoever wants to collect some money off the kid had the few extra bucks to help put him on a bus and take him to Alabama, Georgia, whatever other showcase he had to go to help his ranking.
All right, what else you got going on in the athletics so Hurricane fans can check you out this week?
Yeah, we're gonna have a recruiting confidential coming out here. It was one of my favorite series that we did last year. We did it state by state. This year we're doing it by conference, and so I've been talking to a few South Florida coaches, getting some input on Miami's recruiting efforts, and then the whole conference. How who's really doing a good job, and had some interesting conversations here in the last couple of days with some coaches and people around programs. So that'll be coming out here in the month of December. We'll have plenty of recruiting coverage. Signing days on the 21st. The transfer portal opens on the 5th. So we'll have some action, I'm sure, going on. And then, whatever happens with the coaching staff, I think we're going to see some changes. I don't know. We're going to see changes across the board, but we'll see some.
I forgot. I was going to ask you that. Wouldn't there have already been coaching changes already? It takes this long. Usually season ends, you want to get rid of somebody and you move on, or is it in college where you're first trying to find out if somebody's available before you fire the guy you got? I don't know how it works. You tell me.
I think it's that. I also think it's image, right? I mean, Mario Cristobal has the most expensive coaching staff in the ACC. We've reported that. We've said that multiple times. How does it look as a leader if he's firing guys that he spent a lot of time searching for and settling on, and then he fires them after 1 year? It looks a lot better when they leave for new jobs, doesn't it, though?
Yeah. No, it does. It looks a lot better when they leave for new jobs. But okay. All right. So it still could be going on, is what you're saying.
I would say people need to be patient because Mario clearly is never in a rush to do anything when it comes to his coaching staff. I think we learned that last year, right? While we were waiting for him to hire an offensive and defensive coordinator and assistant coaches.
Mhm.
So, and I would also venture to say, keep that in the back of your mind. This is Manny Navarro's advice. It doesn't make Mario look good to fire guys. He probably wants him to go get hired somewhere else. So, there you go.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Follow him on Twitter so you can get that kind of insight. And also, you better sign up for The Athletic. Subscribe, baby. They always got great deals going on. Plus, you get coverage nationally on everything, even international soccer. And you can find out about everything in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, all kinds of stuff there at The Athletic. And, of course, on Twitter, Manny_Navarro. Manny, appreciate you. Have a great weekend, my friend. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care. Talk to you soon.
There you go. The great Manny Navarro, baby. That is our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.